Hi, this is Robert Rickover. I'm an Alexander Technique teacher in Omaha, Nebraska, and my guest is Rena DeVesa, an Alexander Technique teacher in New York City. And Rena is also someone who has had long COVID, and she is a COVID long hauler for several years, which means that she has COVID in a way that most people who have COVID don't have any idea about, I imagine. And she's going to talk a little about her experience with that and how the Alexander technique teacher has helped her um, get better. She's still working on getting better. And I think this would be a great interest to anyone who has had long COVID or knows someone who's had long COVID. So, Rena, take it away.
All right. Well, I guess I should say talk about when this all happened. Um, Something we never want to remember, but if everybody remembers, COVID started in February of 2020. However, I got COVID in December of 2019, and I do know other folks who did as well.
Mhm.
So it was here in New York then. Um, And so when I got this weird illness, I didn't know what it was. Um, I wouldn't say it was a mild case, but it was certainly not a case to put me in the hospital with breathing problems or I couldn't breathe. I remember being exhausted. I remember having a very high fever, but that went down. Um, I had a cough which would not stop. Was coughing easily for 6 weeks, a dry cough. And that's what led me to wonder what's going on. This is not bronchitis. It's not pneumonia. It's not pleurisy. I didn't know what it was. But since COVID wasn't in New York, I didn't think it was COVID at all. So I do remember going down to go shopping to get a very warm coat. And I was so tired I couldn't take the subway. I had to take a car down there and back. And I thought, this is very unusual, very, very, very unusual. So I never got better. And finally, I saw my longtime primary doctor in March or April. Mm. Um, and of course, he took tests. I thought it was thyroid problems, which I've always had. Um, so he did it actually twice. And sure enough, I was one of the first diagnosed long haulers because basically that's what was going on with me. Um, so COVID attacked my body, my, nervous system. At that point, they were thinking of COVID primarily as something that attacked the lungs and the breathing mechanism. Now they know differently. It's much more extensive. It's neurological. It's so if you have autoimmune problems to begin with, it's easier for you to get COVID. But who knew that I was walking around with this all this time? Crazy. It was crazy. I might have gotten sick again in the end of February. And I work. Um, and I let my boss know that I couldn't come back. He said, "Don't worry, we're closing, we're closing. You know, uh, you know, I'll be in touch." And he was in touch with me pretty often. Um, and then we reopened in June, but I wasn't allowed to go back because not that I don't think I could have, but I didn't. Um, I work for a large tech company and I'm often facing the public. So it's a pretty intense job. I could only work very part-time right now.
Mhm.
I'm lucky that I can even do that because there were times that was what we're now pushing 6 years, right?
Mhm.
It's almost 6 years ago that my life changed. You guys hear my voice. It's all hoarse. This is due to being a long hauler. This is COVID. This is random hoarseness. There's nothing really wrong except that for one of my conditions that I have causes this.
Mhm.
Um, so COVID can cause a whole bunch of strange conditions, rare conditions, maybe not so rare, that most people never heard of. Um, so I already had them, but I didn't know about it because when I was a kid, they didn't exist. Then, of course, my doc told me to enroll in the NYU post-COVID clinic, which I did. And they set me up with appointments for various doctors. I also was very, very lucky in that I found out about a long haulers Slack group right from the get-go. So this was worldwide. Um, but I would say mostly United States, maybe England, but it was worldwide. And there was a New York City group, you know, small group. And I think that's where I got the most information about which doctors to see, what kind of doctors, which ones, what strange medications, off-label medications to try out, also supplements, you know, and I had not heard of these.
Mhm.
So I was very, very lucky. So right in 2020, April, right, I was already checking these things out.
Mhm.
I was lucky. And then I wound up through that group meeting the post-COVID doctors, my primary post-COVID doc, and she's at Mount Sinai, that associated with their post-COVID uh, clinic or group.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's been interesting.
And how did the Alexander technique help you with that?
Um, I felt really lucky that I had trained to be a teacher
Hmm.
because uh, I think me as an Alexander technique teacher, I'm aware of my body in a way that most people are not.
Hmm.
Um, I remember starting lessons, I had no idea how to move. You know, I had no idea what my body was doing. And but when I got COVID, I certainly did know that. And I found a lot of things help from Alexander technique, mainly directions, but other things as well. Uh,
Maybe you should say, if you want, I could say a little about what directions are.
are you going to talk about that, or do
I
you want?
could, well, say a little more and then maybe we can have a little
Well,
conversation on that.
there's different kinds of directions, right? There's freedom directions. There's paradoxical directions, which actually work best for me.
Mhm.
My favorite, when Robert told me about it, I think you made it up, is I'm not thinking. Somehow, when I use that direction, uh, for various different things, it really, something clicks in.
Mhm.
Let's say I'm walking, right? And for a while there, I was cognizant that I was really slumping because it was hard for me to walk. I was exhausted. So I'd say, I'm not thinking. And all of a sudden, boom, my use got better.
Mhm.
It's very strange.
Mhm.
But the power of that for me, I think everybody has to be different of what resonates. For one person doesn't resonate for another, but
Mhm.
that one in particular, So instead of saying to myself, I'm not walking, I say I'm not thinking. And I can't even describe the benefits, the positive benefits of that particular direction. I mean, it's pretty wild stuff. Um, it's my goal to use it more and more and more. Uh,
Right. And
I
it might be
forget,
good to explain to our listeners what those directions mean and how they need to be used. Because it's when you're saying, for example, let's take walking as an example, very simple example. And if you're walking and you think the thought, I'm not walking, it doesn't mean that you stop walking.
right?
It means that you're your conscious brain is telling the rest of your body, come up with a different way of walking. And luckily for us, it never comes up with a worse way. It could if you want.
Yeah,
And so it's not saying an absolute no to something. It's saying I'd like to do it differently.
yes, exactly.
And and that's the power of paradoxical directions in general. Yeah.
I don't, as we were talking before, you don't sort of glom onto what will be the outcome of this direction.
Yes.
Um,
Exactly. Exactly.
you do not do that at all because that would be totally counterproductive. But
But that is a challenge
very much so.
because let's say you're walking and you say, I'm not walking, and your walking gets better or lighter or whatever. It's very easy to get drawn into that.
Yes,
And
I very much so.
unfortunately, the way our brain is structured, if you do, you're almost certainly going to kick out the direction itself that caused it because there's not enough computing power in your prefrontal cortex, which is what's doing the thinking.
Right.
So, yeah, so that sort of detachment from the outcome is really important. And also, just generally, that your thought be as light as possible. You're just putting out a thought. You're not, ideally, you're not remotely interested in the result. Of course, the result might make itself apparent right away. That's, but,
Mhm.
and then, maybe the first few times you'll sort of revel in that. But at some point, you want to detach yourself from that to make more progress because,
Yeah, at some point it's going to kick in.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Uh, yeah. Um, so yes, I have found that highly beneficial. There are other Alexander technique things like uh, doing a lie down.
Constructive rest.
And
Yeah.
yes, however, uh, I mean, for a person with long COVID, everything has to change. We can't be rigid in our thinking because we can't do it.
Mhm.
No, the way it was taught, the ways they were taught. So I just adapted my situation to constructive rest,
Yeah. Yeah.
things like this.
That's a good point because if someone watching this is an Alexander teacher who doesn't have long COVID and they're teaching someone who does, they can't necessarily count on their training.
They cannot.
They have to be very willing to, they need to be
Yeah,
very flexible because they're
very.
not dealing with the same kind of student.
and they have to check in with the student all the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like teaching anybody who has an invisible disability. Uh,
Yeah, say a little about that, how invisible that disability is.
yes, well, it's bad. It's bad because people just don't believe us.
Because
They
you don't look like
we
you're sick.
don't look like we're sick.
Yeah,
We don't look like we can hardly move.
yeah.
We don't look like we're dizzy all the time or walking around with a migraine or can't sleep, etc., etc., etc. Right? And I'm hoarse.
Hmm.
So, and this is most probably because of mast cell disease. But I don't want to get into conditions, but um, yeah. So I think one has to be really careful with students in general to find out what's going on with them.
Hmm.
Hopefully they will talk about it. You know,
Hmm.
they're if they have some things going on, which some people just don't want to share, and I understand that totally. Um,
Right.
but
So you have to be okay with that if you're teaching them.
you have to be.
You can't, yeah, that's a really important point.
Yes, and you have to know that those people just can't do stuff that we take for granted. You know, I consider myself extremely lucky, right? So even though there were times that I couldn't work, I couldn't play flute,
Hmm.
I couldn't eat hardly anything, uh, stuff like that. Um, I can do it now, not the way I used to, you know, but still I can. So some folks, I mean, I have been bedbound. I know what that's all about. So you really, really, either you're on your bed or on your couch, and that still happens to me, but not to the extent that it used to. So I'm very, very lucky that I can carry on my modified life because I'm working very part-time. I
Hmm.
work for a company that's amazing.
Hmm.
They give me, they allow me to do this, and they give me amazing accommodations so that I can do my job.
Yeah.
Right. And
So what would you say to someone watching this who has long COVID, in terms of just, okay, this sounds like something I should explore. What exactly should I do at this point?
what the person who has long COVID,
Yeah.
well, I should certainly try to take some Alexander technique lessons, and of course, um, it's a given that my cat is hungry. Uh, so, I mean, it's hard for them to go physically to an appointment. So we
So
all
they
got
need
used to,
they need to find someone who teaches online.
that's
A lot
that's
of
a
a lot of
must.
teachers do.
I mean, we all got used to doing that during lockdown. It was you taught online
Hmm.
or you didn't teach. And I had a bunch of students, and then I gave a class to
Hmm.
my work colleagues
Hmm.
once a week, which was amazing.
Hmm.
It was such a great experience. Um, and I saw right away that basically it's very different, but anything I did hands-on in person could be accomplished virtually.
So your recommendation would be to find a teacher who's does online teaching, which a great many teachers do, but also if another possibility is taking free lessons from. You want to say
Ah,
more
yes.
about that?
why don't you, do you,
Oh, I
Robert,
could do that if you want.
yeah, Robert, you talk about that because those are great.
So this is a project that I started about a year ago, which was I had the perfect student to do this with, and um, early on in her lessons, she agreed to make her lessons available, their video lessons, online lessons available to anybody. Um, what I did was edit them, break lessons into little shorter segments, and they are all available for free. And one of the advantages of that of having them online, and I've heard from a number of people who said this because it was an experiment originally. It's no longer an experiment because so many people have had good results. That One of the advantages is that you could watch the same lesson as often as you want and go at your own speed. The only thing you want to see if you can do is put yourself in the shoes of the student and do the same experiments, the same sorts of experiments that she does. And that might be something to consider for anyone who does have long haul. I'll put a link to that on the website next to the interview. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Um, yes, I mean, that would be step one, I think. And then step two is find a teacher. Um,
Teacher. Yeah. And
I mean, I'm the only,
make sure it's a teacher, not just who can work online, but who's going to be flexible. You'll find out pretty quickly if they are.
if you're,
Um,
if
yeah.
I go to a doctor's appointment and I have a bad feeling, or I feel that I'm being gaslit,
Yeah.
that's the last time I see that person.
Because
So
you actually had that kind of experience
many
probably
times.
many times with COVID, with long haul COVID, right? So
So
yeah,
the same thing
you
is,
can trust your intuition
yeah.
to say this teacher might be a great teacher in general, but not for someone in this situation.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Yeah,
So, because I don't know of any other teacher but me who has long COVID. However, there are plenty of teachers who have great compassion and sympathy for
right.
all visibly disabled and invisibly disabled people.
Right. So if you are in this situation, finding a teacher should be a worldwide search because the only issue could be time zones that are so different from ours. But in general, there's no reason to stay in your location.
Right.
Your teacher can be anywhere in the world. That's one of the great advantages of online teaching.
I agree. I certainly have had lessons from people in
Yeah,
different
people,
countries.
yeah, I think that's pretty common for people who do teach online, that you have no idea where the next student's going to come from. Um, Now I'm thinking maybe we've covered most of what we were going to do. Is there anything you want to add though?
Well, I would love for people to be aware of this.
Hmm.
I really would, because people just are not. Um, and there's so many great articles. Maybe I'll find one and we can link it to this page. Uh, I think the New York Times even had one recently.
There's so many articles out there about the Alexander technique.
Uh,
Yeah. And are there any books that you would recommend?
yeah, there is one book.
I'd recommend Missy Vineyard's book. Do you,
What?
Missy Vineyard's book.
Missy Vineyard's book, exactly.
Yeah, I think that would be a great starting point for anybody
I
in
agree.
general, and certainly anyone with long COVID. Um, I'll put a link to that also.
Yeah, I think that's the one.
That's a good starting point. It's yeah.
There's also a very fine piece of fiction,
Oh,
short book. Yeah, I can't remember the name. I know where it's at. I'll send you the info. Uh, that for me was a page turner.
about the Alexander technique?
No, no, that's about just long COVID.
Oh, long COVID.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
long COVID. No, let's see. Any other Alexander Technique books? Mm,
I think mainly, I think the book is you really want to get it. You want to start actually taking lessons and start learning how to self-direct in a way that's going to improve your situation.
yes.
The books are handy, and Missy Vineyards is particularly interesting because she was one of the pioneers of a paradoxical direction. She was the pioneer. I mean, Alexander a little bit was the pioneer, but mostly Missy brought that out in a way that had not been done before.
Mhm.
And it's in her book, and it's a very readable book. It's not a technical book at all. So
Mhm.
I recommend that for all my students, but certainly someone who has long COVID, that would be a good
Yeah,
thing.
the others are kind of too technical. Uh, though, I think that's the place to start. I mean, you're right. It's better to have lessons. I mean, if people are interested in reading more further
No
down,
harm to
there's plenty
read,
of books.
but so your recommendation would be check out the free stuff first.
Yes.
And then if you may feel, what I've noticed is that a lot of people do the free stuff and then they'll have just a few lessons with a teacher because of a specific issue that doesn't happen to be covered in that. Although 90% of what I teach, for anybody would be in that free lesson. But some people just want to have interaction with the teacher that's
They
different.
want it personalized.
Person, yeah. Doing the free one first gives you a real head start if you do want to work with the teacher. Some students do both at the same time. I mean, it just depends on what you want to do, but that's available too.
Yeah.
Maybe we should end this conversation unless there's something else you want to.
Oh, no, I think we covered everything.
Okay, so my guest today has been Rena Teresa. I got that right, didn't I? Uh,
A
and
hard name in English.
huh?
It's a Frenchified Spanish name.
Okay, and she's an Alexander teacher in New York City, and I'll put a link to her website also, so you can contact her if you want to. So, Rena, thank you so much for doing this, and I
Oh,
hope that it reaches the people that I would, as we talked about before we even did this conversation. I just add this little thing that you mentioned. There's no mention of the Alexander technique anywhere in long COVID
no,
literature, right? So this is a first, and I hope it reaches the people that it should reach.
me too.
Take care. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been great.